Hi, I'm Rod Santomassimo, founder of the Massimo Group, and welcome to the session on the seven-figure CRE Broker Blueprint. Yeah, how do you get to seven figures as a CRE broker? Because I'll tell you, when you get to the seven figures, the magic, the margin really starts to happen. Doing more high-quality deals, even less deals in more time, and having more freedom to do what you want, which I think is the number one reason most people get into commercial real estate brokers. Yes, the money's the big allure, but it's the freedom you get as a result. So did you know over the last almost 20 years now, we've worked with thousands of brokers and we've assisted many of them getting to seven figures and most of them multiplying their commission income. So whether you get to seven figures or 400,000 or 600,000 or 800,000, or we have clients at a million, 2 million, we have clients at 15 million and above. But where are you? And we're going to get you there. That's what we're going to do. By the way, so far in these almost 20 years, our clients have earned over $2 billion in commission income. It's unfathomable. It's unbelievable. But that's what happens when you use the blueprint. So let's get to the blueprint. And the first thing we got to do is understand where you are so you understand the next steps to apply to yourself. Okay, so here we have it, the Ascension model. Now, if you're here, here's the good news. You're not a spectator because you wouldn't be here, right? Spectators, well, they quit. They quit brokerage. They don't understand what to do. They blame everything on the market, and that's not you. So let's get out of that. Now, it's very likely because of the way the bell curve of brokerage works, you're going to be a believer, right? You're going to be a believer. Now, if you're a believer, that's okay. Again, it's where most brokers fit, but you don't want to stay there. You want to get to the green zone. You become the producer, right? You become a producer, or more likely, the authority. So when you're a believer, there's certain things that happen, right? The number one thing, and the word I want to circle here that's really important is you don't want to be this commodity. Commodities, they struggle for fees. They compete on fees. You don't want to be there, right? Now you're capable, which is a great place to be. Hey, you got skills, you got talent. But you also have this one block here, right? You're not fearful anymore, but you still have this ignorance. And that's not a negative word. This is a factual word. Ignorant, by definition, means you just don't know, right? And so what I like to say is you don't know yet. That's all. You don't know yet. You don't know yet. So if you don't know yet, how do we get you to the point where, well, you know? And that's what we want to get to. How do we get to the point where you know what you need to do to get to the green zone? Now, as we also share with you, each of these thresholds, right? Spectator, believer, producer, authority, they did have income thresholds. So in this believer zone right here, you're going to tend to be around 400K, 400,000, $400,000, right? That's the maximum. That's the ceiling. And look how gross commission income, they're in that zone. You're making great money, by the way, at that level. Congratulations. But that's not really high producer zone. Again, in the producer zone, that tends to be 400 to, let's say, 900K. Now, that's going to be a little different based on the market you're in. Every market fluctuates. Believe it or not, being a $700,000 producer in New York City is awesome, but given the competition, given the cost of living, everything else, it's not really authority status yet. It's not top producer status. You're a producer, but not a top producer. But depending on this market you're in, whether you're in Sydney, Australia, or you're in Costa Rica, or some of our clients, or Lubbock, Texas, right? Some of our clients, or LA, depends on what top producer may be, but that tends to be the range. So when you get comfortable where you are, well, think about it. Once you get into the top producer zone, this is the magic word right here now. The magic word is margin. Yeah, you have margin, right? And let's talk a little bit about margin for a minute. When you get margin in your life, that's the freedom equation we were talking about. That's where you determine, you know what? I could do what I want when I want because I have the financial resources now to make those decisions and have those opportunities. And you get more opportunities because, well, you have the financial freedom to go after those opportunities. So in Massimo, it's all about margin, how we maximize margin, right? So let's continue. So back to the Ascension model. Some of you are going to say, you know what? I've made my money. I'm good. And you'll be comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with being comfortable. It's just not. If you're happy where you are, congratulations. It's great. But there are those that say, you know what? I know I could do better. I know I could do more. And ultimately, they're going to determine they will become market authorities. When you're a market authority, you become desired. And really, desired's where the place is to be. If you're desired, guess what? You're pursued. You're pursued versus you chase. Big difference there, right? You're chased or you're pursued. And the difference, instead of demanding your fees, you command your fees. So this blueprint, this seven-figure CRE broker blueprint, we want to share with you exactly how to become the chosen one, to become pursued. And that's what you want as well. So let's break this down, how you're going to get there, right? And let's get you to seven figures. Okay, before we get to seven figures, though, I want you to think about where you are now, right? Both where you are in the stack. Are you a believer? Are you a producer? Are you an authority? But also where are you in regards to financially? So when we look at financials, it's the way that we look at that is where you are versus your dream goal and the gap. And the gap is important because the gap is what costs you the most. The gap is what holds brokers back. We got to crush that gap. We got to minimize that gap. We got to attack the gap, right? That ignorance of what you don't know is costing you more than you can ever imagine. Let me give you an example. So here it is. This is what we call the ignorance tax, the ignorance gap. This just means, again, that I don't know yet, right? And if you don't know yet, you don't know. I don't know nothing yet, right? No one does. But what you don't know yet, and more importantly, what's that costing you? That lack of skills and talent and approaches. So this is a concept that was shared with a gentleman named Alex Hormozi. Alex is one of the bigger thought leaders today. And we talk about this ignorance tax, and it really drives a lot of our clients. And I want to understand how it applies to you. So first, take your average gross income for the last 3 years. Because at Massimo, we feel that in 3 years, you can change your entire life. You absolutely can. So again, hypothetically, I'm just going to say $500,000. Now, for you, it might have been $50,000, maybe been $5 million, and anywhere in between. It doesn't matter. What's your average gross commission income for the last 3 years? Now tell me, for 1 year, ideally, where do you want to grow? Where do you want to be? Well, this is the blueprint for seven figures. So you may say, I want to be at seven figures. So let's do that. Let's make it the minimum, okay? Let's say the minimum is $1 million, right? I want to make $1 million. Should be 2, 3, 4, 5. The number one problem with brokers is they don't think big enough. But let's make it $1 million right now. So what's the difference? Obviously, the difference is $500,000. Now do I times by 3? Why by 3? Because again, everything can change in 3 years. And if you don't change what you're doing, you're likely going to make the same amount of money over the next 3 years. Let me repeat that. If you don't change what you're doing, you're likely going to make the same amount of money over the next 3 years. So if that's the case, then we just multiply by 3, and now we have $1,500,000. That is called your ignorance tax. What's that mean? What it means is it's costing you every year $500,000 for not knowing what you could know to produce the money you should be making. I'll repeat that. The difference is the amount of money that you are not making because you don't know what you should be doing to make that next level of income. It could be skills, tactics, approaches, strategies. You just don't know. And that's one reason we coach folks at the Massimo Group. They come to us because we understand those skills and tactics and approaches, and we accelerate their path to their next level. And we simply reduce that ignorance tax for them. So just think about that as well. Okay, so now we've understood where you are from a status standpoint, where you are from a financial standpoint. So now that you understand that, how do we get where you want to grow? How do we get to that next level? Well, at Massimo, we have models and processes and frameworks, and let's call them frameworks for now, where we apply to allow you to grow. So let's outline those frameworks so you understand what you need to do to get to seven figures. The first framework we have is called the Business Development P Factor. Now, this is the framework you should be thinking of if you're a believer. If you're in that yellow believer zone, if you haven't yet broken $400,000, $500,000, this is where you start. You've got to start here. And I know I have my MBA from Duke University, and my professors say, Rod, that math is absolutely wrong. But through our processes and our experiences with our clients over all these years, right, we found this equation actually to be true because the result isn't linear, it's exponential. It's absolutely exponential. And that's why it's P cubed. P plus P plus P equals P cubed. So what does that mean to you specifically? So, and you have to do it in this order. You have to get this right, get in this order, and then things will start to materialize. So first one is your value proposition, right? Value proposition. And more importantly, it's a client-focused value proposition. So what that really means is when I think of that value proposition, you got to ask the simple questions. Who do I serve? How do I serve them? Who do I serve? The clients you're going after, and how exactly do you serve them? If you cannot articulate that, you got to stop right now, because that's the basic fundamentals of commercial real estate brokerage. You've got to understand that. Who do I serve and how do I serve them? So once you understand that, now I know who I serve. Guess what? How do I serve them? I know their pains, their aspirations, their goals, their fears, their struggles. I know everything. That means I can create messaging. So once I create messaging, now I can have to make sure I establish a dominating personal presence. A dominating personal presence. Think of this as marketing. And that comes next, because I want you to establish your presence in the marketplace. And there's a lot of ways we'll go deeper into this during this session to how to do that, right? And finally, you have to have a targeted prospecting campaign. And note the key word there is campaign. It isn't just calls. Calls are vital, but it's not just calls. That just doesn't work. So you got to put all. So, and by the way, why prospecting after marketing and prospecting is sales now, right? Think about that. So why prospecting after marketing? Because you have to make sure you establish yourself and you're seen as a thought leader, and that you're received and recognized versus just making a bunch of cold calls. Now you're going to make calls regardless. I get that. But just prospecting comes after, and campaigns, because it's not just calls, it's a whole array of what you're going to do. And we'll break that down as well. But again, this is for those not making $500,000 yet in commission income. This is the model to get there, to the $500,000, the first step, right? And by the way, why P cubed? Because it just becomes more pitches, far more pitches, far more presentations, and much higher production. This is the roadmap to get there. This is the way you get there. So you follow these 3 steps, again, you'll get to that next level. You start leaving the believer zone and move into the producer zone where you want to grow. You know, I love this story. We're talking about people that are growing outside the believer zone. Jared Hussman out of Iowa. I love Jared because when he first came to us, he was just a kid. He was barely making mid-5 figures. And he joined our one-on-one program. And when that happened, I called him up and said, wait a minute, Jared, this isn't for you. Start with our basic start program for rookies. And he said, Rod, I'm all in. I got to make CRE brokerage work. I'm totally committed to this. I'm going to make it happen. And over our time together, he 20x'd his income. 20x'd his income. He's now outside the believer zone. He's now a producer, right? He's in the green. And more importantly, he's traveling the world. So you see there's opportunities. When you follow that simple business development P factor, you can also have these results. Then there's Mason Fischione. Mason out of Washington. Mason also was a young gun. Started out in our first new to business program, our Series Start program. And then he went to our group coaching program, our accelerator program. And then he quickly graduated to our one-on-one CRE scale program. Totally committed to the craft of commercial real estate brokerage. He 4x'd his income. He hit 7 figures faster than anyone we've ever coached. Again, faster than anyone we ever coached, of 1,000 clients. And yes, he became the youngest Massimo Master Broker ever. In fact, there are only 22 Massimo Master Brokers in the world, and he was designated with that earlier last year. So yeah, again, the simple business development P factor. So now we defined what you need to do if you're in that yellow zone, believer zone. But some of you say, Rod, I want to get to the green zone. I want to get to the 7 figures. I want to get to the authority zone. Some of you, right? Awesome. So how are we going to do that? Well, that's a different. So how are we going to do that? That's a different model. So that's the operational P factor. So let's bring that up. So now this is our operational P factor. It's different than the business P factor. Yes, the equation's the same, but the variables are different. This is the equation you're going to use, right there. That's the equation you're going to use when you're going to either get to the green zone, producer authority, or remain in the green zone. So how does this break down? So first of all, you need an integrated platform. What does that mean, platform, integrated platform? Well, certainly a CRM. You must have a CRM. AI platforms are all the rage, and they should be. Everything should be integrated with AI today. Marketing platforms, you must have a platform that does everything for you, communicates with your team, does your marketing, helps with the sales, supports through automations and accelerations, all that you got to build. So now you got a platform. Then you have to have defined processes. This isn't in your head. These are actual defined processes. Processes are everything. You have to write them down. Someone can share where they are and understand what we do. This is how we do things. This is how we recruit new agents. This is how we work with tenants. This is how we work with owners and buyers and landlords and refinancing. This is our transaction management system. This is our closing process. You need a process for everything. If you don't, you're winging it and you have a hobby. And more so, you're going to be continually interrupted because you don't have the processes in place. So these two are must. Now, third is talented people. Yeah, you need people. You need to defer what you're doing where your best skills aren't being utilized. So other people do other things less expensive than you. Talented people. These people can be, well, they can be people that are employees full-time, but not necessarily. Like many of our clients, they have VAs in the Philippines, in Mexico, in South Africa. They do. Or many more of our clients are using AI agents and AI bots to do some of the work that they used to do. Now, here's the important part. Do not ever hire people until you have your processes and your platform in place. Yeah, it's a linear equation that way. And now this is massive, massive margin. I mean, massive margin. Now you're making the big bucks. Oh, by the way, Rod, why can't I hire people first? Because you hire people before the processes are defined and the platform's integrated and installed. The same people will ask you the same questions over and over again. Again, total interruption, total waste of time, completely inefficient. Do it this way, and you'll become a much higher productive individual, and you'll have much, much greater, massive margin. Again, margin to me is freedom, it's choice, it's opportunities. Now you have massive margin. Okay, so now here's what we did. Looked at where you are financially, qualitatively in the stack. We've given you two formulas of how you get to where you're going to grow. These are the 7-figure steps. The first steps gets you to mid to high 6 figures. The second P factor, the operational P factor, will get you to 7 figures. Okay, Bob Knackel. Talk about authorities, the dark green zone. Well, he might be the ultimate authority. He is more than likely the GOAT of commercial real estate brokerage. He has sold more buildings in the United States than any other broker in history. In fact, this data is a little dated now. As of this morning, 2,391 buildings sold. Over a 41-year career, that means he's averaged more than 1 building sold every week for over 40 years. Absolutely phenomenal. And when he came to us, he said, Rod, if I could just make my same amount of money, at that time he was making $6 million, and spend more time with my family, that'd be perfect. Can we do that? I said, sure. But then guess what? That first P factor, some things were missing. That second P factor, many things were missing. So we started implementing these elements of prospecting and marketing and really honing in on the value proposition and really honing on his processes and his platforms and then his people. And within 2 years, he doubled his income to 12 million. And soon after that, about 3.5 years, 18 million plus. Okay. So again, it doesn't matter where you are in the spectrum of income, growth, experience. When you do these approaches, as I've outlined, you're on your way to 7 figures and beyond, and stay there and grow consistently from there. Another client, Alan Buchanan, SAOR, out of Orange County, California. When Alan came to us, he was in his early 60s. He said, you know, Rod, I got some fuel in the tank. I got all this experience, all these relationships, all these skills. I want to squeeze the juice as much as I can and and finish really strong. And guess what? He did. By his 4-year term with us, he went from making, well, he was in the low green zone, right? Making not making 7 figures, but now multi-million-dollar producer, right? He's 4x his income over our time with us. And he said, I know to be a badass, I got to retain the Massimo coaches. And he did. And I love it because I've seen him renovate his entire house. I've seen him and his wife travel the world. It's amazing to watch what you have, the freedom you can get when you just apply the right processes. Okay, let's get more specific now. What exactly do you need to do? You have the key things you need to do. You have the macro things. Let's break it down a little more to what micro things, of things you specifically need to do to get to where you want to grow. So let's look at what I call the broker continuum. And the continuum is simple. There's 3 phases. And I've learned this from a great mentor, the late, great Ralph Spencer. And the first one is you got to find business, right? You got to find business. You got to win the business. And you got to fulfill the business. Find, win, fulfill. Find, win, fulfill, right? Now, if you're a solo broker, a solopreneur, you're doing all 3. It's a great juggling act. Either a team, you're just finding the business, maybe someone's winning the business, and maybe other people are fulfilling the business. So I'm out prospecting, I'm out pitching, and I'm out now I'm out negotiating because we have an exclusive, right? So that's the keys: find, win, fulfill. So what does find mean, right? So there's lead generation, and no doubt many brokers have issues with lead generation. They do. Many of you just to find more quality leads. That's key to the finding side, right? It's the positioning. This is, how you prepare yourself, compare yourself to the marketplace, how you go out, how you prospect, right? That's what it is. So we got a sales thing. I got a prospecting element as well. Of course, we have to have some level of operational. It's just your operational issue, so you can do it more efficiently and effectively. So there's a lot of elements to finding business. There are. Now I got to win business. So now I gotta pitch. I gotta differentiate. Right? And you have to close. I got to do all these things now so I can win the business. Now, a quick thought here. When I say pitch, because we have clients in every major firm in the US, of even the world, and we have clients in regional firms and independent small boutique firms, particularly I see almost every single pitch deck that is out there that's being provided to prospects. And I want to share with you, they're all the same. They all say the same thing. So the key is to differentiate yourself in your offer. One of the key things is once you get that opportunity to pitch, you got to differentiate yourself in that offer where they go, you know what? I have no choice but to work with you. Again, when you're authority, you're desired. When you're authority, you're commanding fees. When you're commodity, you're chasing fees, and you're competing on fee. Just you don't want to be there. Okay. So think about that. Find, win, fulfill. Okay. Now when you're fulfilling, right? You're negotiating. You're marketing the opportunity. Right? There are deliverables. Say weekly reports and the like. Oh, definitely there's tours, either a tenant or owner. You're touring. A lot of things you got to do. So again, this 3-ring circus is never stopping. It's crazy. It's chaotic. So we got to figure a better way to broker to get you 7 figures without going crazy. So I'm going to share right now is our better way to broker, how we do things at Massimo, how we break things down, and how you can look at this map. Consider it your commission generation map. We actually call it the commission creator. How you can create your own commissions and your staircase to 7 figures. You got to have all these things in place. When you have all these in place, 7 figures actually becomes pretty easy to attain. So let's look at a couple of things here. This is we'll call it the Massimo commission creator. And it outlined everything I said. In the find stage, right? We talked about this already. The first P factor, right? Who you're going after, right? The ideal client, the avatar, who I serve, how I serve them, how you're marketing, how you market, and then how you're prospecting. Once you get all that, once you got the win stage figured out, right? That's going to move you to more conversations. Conversations are part of the win stage. Having more conversations is one of the keys to you filling a more quality pipeline. Conversations and meetings, right? And they lead to, obviously, They lead to pitches and presentations, right? That's where they lead to. Now I got pitches and I got presentations. Now I got a pitch, got to make an offer. And we'll get to these in a minute, what these elements are. But then as I share with you, that goes to marketing, tours, deliverables, and negotiations, right? All that happens, and that ends up with the close, right? Then you get the close, and that's what we want. So think about this roadmap, find, win, fulfill, and ask yourself, you know what? Where am I strong? Where am I weak? Where are the obstacles that I really need to attack? See, in every brokerage business, whether you're a solopreneur or you're a large organization, they're not great at everything unless they have an integrated team built out that has specialties in everywhere. Our clients generally not have that. We work with independent brokers, not big teams. And so when you look at the map, you ask yourself, okay, where am I struggling? Where am I successful? What am I doing? So looking at the map, I want you to do is grab a red, yellow, and green pen, pencil, marker, yellow, and green. And first, look at the map and say, okay, where am I having issues? Well, maybe your prospecting isn't truly consistent, a targeted campaign. You're just making calls. You're not using emails, texts, canvassing, DMs, videos, AI bots, right? Referrals, inactive clients. Remember everything that's outlined, all there, right? Maybe you're not using the whole 8 asks like you should be, right? Maybe you're not very good at your meetings. Maybe your pitch ratio is low. For every 10 meetings you get, you only get 1 exclusive. That's not good. That's not. You want to be at least 20, 25%. So maybe you're having a meeting issue, right? Maybe it's your pitch issue or your presentation issues. Maybe those are problems for you. Maybe you get bottlenecked in negotiation. But where are these red areas that you need to improve upon? Likewise, where are the areas that you're not bad? So you know what? I'm pretty good at knowing my marketing. Not great, but I'm good at it. And I can hold a conversation. And you know what? Once I get a listing, I'm pretty good at reporting regularly and deliverables. And yeah, I'm pretty good at creating tours, right? So now we know where you're okay in. Those are the yellow lights. And lastly, of course, what are you really good at? Well, yeah, I really know who I'm going after. I got that figured out. I'm really good to pitch. I can get the meetings once I'm on the phone, but I just can't go from there. My meetings to exclusives is tough. But man, we got a robust marketing. Once we get that listing, once we get that tenant rep, we have a really great process for creating everything. So I don't need to attack those. I can leverage those, but you don't need to attack those. So part of this map, take a screenshot, whatever you need. Part of this map, you got to figure out, well, where am I weak? Where am I strong? What do I need to be doing? Okay, so once you look at the map, now you realize, okay, where am I challenged, right? Where are those bottlenecks that's holding me back? Where I need some work, those yellow zones, and where are those strengths that I can leverage, either with others or just leverage overall to win more opportunities. This is really going to break it down for you what exactly you need to do. Now, we've had other clients that went through the same map and process, Stephanie May in Canada and her team. They were doing really well, but they thought they can get to another level, the next level. Now that term next level always baffles me. It just means you think there's more, right? More income, less headaches, less chaos, more clarity. So more. So with them, we focused on their team processes. That's what we did. So our time together, just focused on their team processes. And Stephanie couldn't believe that, in fact, they can make more money than they already were. In fact, they 3x their commission income over our time with us. So again, following that map process on the way to 7 figures, that's how they figured it out. And another client, Adam Collins, he does tenant rep for a big firm in Washington, D.C., big market, okay? Small markets, big markets, national firms, small firms. The system works, right? Now, what I love about Alan, he went after higher quality clients. He recognized how much money he was leaving on the table. And yes, 7x. Did I do that there? 7x. The 7x his income. 7x his income during our time with us. Again, using these same principles to get to 7 figures, right? This, again, it's how you do it. Follow the process I share with you. You're on your way to get there. One other one, Denise Senior. I love Denise. I love her story. She was just named the top producer in her company in her market for another year, which we love. Denise wanted something different. She just wanted to figure out, is there a better way to broker? And can I do it and spend more time with my family? That was the goal, right? A little like Bob Knackle, the authority. Everyone has this goal. Better way to broker. Can I do it and spend more time with my family? In fact, she did. She said straight out, not only was she making significantly more money, and in her case, she 4x'd her income, 4x, quadrupled her income, and spending more time with her family. And I follow her on Facebook. She's traveling the world. I just love the story. When you change lives like this, because they follow the processes, this is really what it's all about. So again, some examples for you to share that every broker, there's no excuse. Every broker, when applying these principles, can get significantly more money and do it in significantly less time. Okay, so how do we do it? How do we do it at Massimo? I'm going to share with you our Massimo Margin Maximizer. Everything I do at Massimo is a little corny, but the Massimo Margin Maximizer. What are these pillars we need to put into the system, into your practice, to ensure we can get you to either quickly multiply your commission income, which is really important, but ultimately get you to 7 figures and beyond. So here's our model. Here's our Massimo Margin Maximizer. And again, if you remember the second P factor to get you to 7 figures, people, process, platform. Well, those 3 are the pillars of our system as well. Now, here's the key. Our goal with all our clients is to build a business and life that others covet. Understand that. We want others to say, man, what is he doing? What is she doing? They figured it out, right? When your competition looks at you and goes, that's the resource. That's the example. Be like that. That's what you got to be, right? And so that's our goal with all our clients, the business and life that you desire. And the 3 pillars around that are, number 1, let's get you first and foremost to earning consistent commissions. Yes, consistent commissions getting out of the gate, but for most of our clients, consistently higher commissions, right? One way to do that is to optimize their operations. We're going to optimize your operations, put processes in place that things happen without thinking about it, automations without thinking about it, so you can go ahead and run your practice and do things you want to do, including having your processes, your people, and your platform, again, all in place. And last but not least, let's get to the point of being acknowledged authority. Yeah, man, I got to talk to Bo. I got to talk to Denise. I got to talk to Bob. I got to talk to Mason or Jared or Adam, right? Or any one of these folks that we share with you, because they become the acknowledged authorities. So how exactly do we do this? How do we create this model that gets you where you want to grow in these 3 pillars? Well, again, we talked about specifically this order of what you have to have. And the first one was your platform, right? So your platform. So when you have a platform, you go from being a commodity to a dominator, right? Platforms allow you to do so many things. And our platforms are based on 3 levers that you can utilize. And I want you to then take your markers out and say, do I have this? Do I have this? If not, I need to work on this. So our first platform is our Massimo mobile app. Everything right here on your phone, the Massimo mobile app, your entire business in your hand, coaching content in your hand, your scorecards, your pipelines, your AI bots, all in your hand. So remember where you are, your role play bots. You're about to go on a pitch and you're sitting in your car waiting. Whip out the role play bot on Massimo Mobile, role play it, get the recommendations from the AI coach, and you're off and running. So Massimo, that's one part of our platform. CRE Launcher. Yeah, we are the first firm ever in the world to offer an automated accelerator for prospecting and marketing your opportunities. Both prospecting, looking for new prospects to find, right? And marketing, the fulfill. We've automated the process using a proprietary platform. We built upon that, and we've now integrated AI bots. Actually, it's working right now, folks. AI text box back and forth with prospects, AI calling bots to follow up, schedule calls, and everything else. It's here in the system as well. And then, yes, our own AI platforms as well. Our vaults will help you quickly write your entire prospecting playbook within the first week you're working with us, if you choose, as well as your marketing, as well as a bot that will understand you, your clients, and your voice, so things are written as you would write them yourselves. So here's what you should be asking right now. do you have a platform that you just have in the palm of your hand to run your entire business? Do you have a platform that will automate and accelerate your marketing and prospecting efforts? Do you have AI integrated for everything you do, build everything you need to do, including bots to help you do it? Okay, so that's the platform. But now that you have the platform, what was the next thing in our P factor to get to seven figures? It's the processes. Do you have the processes in place? Again, process for doing everything, finding, winning, fulfilling business. So at Massimo, we have integrated processes. We start with our prospecting playbook, right? Outlining who your ideal client is, challenges, goals, fears, aspirations, and then basically we know everything about them. Then we put together our presence pyramid, how we do things physically, personally, and digitally. So you can go out and create an impression and be top of mind. And now that we're winning more opportunities, again, as I share with you, we see all the presentations. So how do we differentiate the presentation? How do we make your offer so good, they'll have a really hard time saying no to you. So that's what we do at Massimo. So I'd ask you, do you have a prospecting playbook that you can implement right away that includes a campaign, not just phone calls? Do you have a marketing system, a presence system and processes where you're reaching out consistently with both personally, physically, and digitally, where you can now be top of mind? And last but not least, do you have a presentation that you know with total certainty sets you apart and makes you the easiest and obvious choice, right? That's how we get to seven figures. That's how our clients get the results that they get. And last but not least, you need the people, right? You could be alone, and look, brokers can be a very lonely profession, right? But you got to get connected. So how do we connect you? We look at the three U's there are. First, we'll look at you and your natural behaviors. We'll understand exactly how you're wired. We'll do a quick assessment, understand how you're wired, and therefore once we know how you're wired, it's easy for us to coach you and work with you to get the most out of you, right? And you have to understand how you're wired, so you'll recognize some of the patterns you currently have and some breaks maybe, and some things we can to take advantage of and leverage, and some things, well, we need to change. So first is you. Then is your ideal client, right? Back to your ideal client. We have to understand them, their fears, their frustrations, their goals, their aspirations. We have to understand all of that so we can surround your natural behaviors going after the right client and how to go after the client correctly, where you two will resonate with one another, and ultimately you win their business. And last but not least, we got to build out your team. And again, your team might be our AI bots. There may be some AI bots that you're filling, right? There may be a VA in the Philippines or somewhere else in the world. It may be a part-time person or an intern, right? So what's your team going to be? It can't just be you, or you'll be doing work that you should not be doing. So the reason that we love this margin maximizer, this model of people, process, and platform, and all the tools we wrap around it, is because we know once we immerse our clients with the coaching, the content, and the community, that's where we see the results start to move. Okay, so that's it. So what you need to do is you need to check out your map again, right? Let's check out your map, the map we built earlier. Identify what you do well, what you are currently challenged with a little bit, and what you don't do at all, right? You're really having trouble. So what I want you to do next is identify 3 areas where you have bottlenecks. Every broker has bottlenecks. Bob Knackel, the GOAT of commercial real estate, when he came to us, we quickly identified 3 bottlenecks. Every broker has bottlenecks, mostly in certain areas. They could be different. Somehow you prospect, how you market, how you build your team, how you pitch, right? How you fulfill the business, how your conversions of meetings and getting exclusives. There's bottlenecks everywhere. Where are your bottlenecks? So there you go. There's the roadmap to getting to 7 figures. Follow the process outlined today. If you're in that believer zone, well, move up to high 6 figures. Become the producer. If you're a producer, get that first business development P factor in place, move towards the operational P factor, and then we move up to a high producer, 7 figure, and some of you, authority zone where you're desired and you command your fees. Now look, if you're interested in learning more about how we work with our coaching clients and more about our coaching programs, everything you need is associated with this video down below. We show you everything, how we do things, why we do things, who's a good fit, who's a bad fit, and even the investment level to get involved with our coaching. So if that's you, very happy to speak with you and love the opportunity to work with you. If not right now, no problem. We're here when you're ready. But regardless, I hope you take this roadmap, you apply it because knowing isn't doing, and you go out and quickly get on your way to that blueprint to 7 figures. Talk soon.